Good day, everyone. We are Group 11, and today we will present our study entitled The Impact of Tax Revenue on Economic Growth in Malaysia. This research examines whether tax revenue and government expenditure growth significantly influence Malaysia's economic growth using statistical analysis from the year 2000 until 2024. The objectives of this study are threefold. First, to identify the relationship between tax revenue and economic growth in Malaysia. Second, to examine the relationship between government expenditure growth and economic growth. Finally, to analyze these relationships using Pearson correlation and multiple regression analysis. This study uses secondary annual time series data consisting of 25 observations from 2000 to 2024. The data were collected from the Ministry of Finance Malaysia, the Department of Statistics Malaysia, Bank Negara Malaysia, and the World Bank. We applied graphical analysis, Pearson correlation, and multiple linear regression to examine the relationships among the variables. The correlation analysis produced three main findings. First, GDP and tax revenue have a weak positive correlation of 0.089, which is not statistically significant. Second, GDP and government expenditure growth have a weak negative correlation of negative 0.094, which is also not significant. Third, tax revenue and government expenditure growth show a strong positive correlation of 0.659, and this relationship is highly significant. From the graphical trend, Malaysia experienced sharp declines in GDP growth during the economic crises in 2009 and 2020. However, tax revenue remained relatively stable, fluctuating between approximately 11% and 16%. The regression analysis shows that the model has a low explanatory power, with an R-squared value of only 0.049. This means that tax revenue and government expenditure growth explain only 4.9% of the variation in GDP growth. The ANOVA test also indicates that the overall regression model is not statistically significant. Furthermore, both tax revenue and government expenditure growth have insignificant regression coefficients, meaning neither variable has a significant individual effect on Malaysia's economic growth during the study period. From the graphical trend, Malaysia experienced sharp declines in GDP growth during the economic crises in 2009 and 2020. However, tax revenue remained relatively stable, fluctuating between approximately 11% and 16%. In conclusion, the findings indicate that we failed to reject the null hypothesis. Tax revenue and government expenditure growth do not significantly influence Malaysia's economic growth during the selected period. This suggests that economic growth is affected by many other macroeconomic factors, such as inflation, foreign direct investment, exports, and labor productivity. Future research should consider a longer observation period and include additional economic variables to provide a more comprehensive analysis. Thank you very much for your attention. We really appreciate your time.